Okay, so good morning and welcome to one day state level webinar on post pandemic business problems and suitable measures for its revitalization. And it is a moment of great privilege for me to extend a hearty welcome to Chief Patron Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, Principal Egra SSB College, resource persons Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar, Professor and Director Department of MBA, Raiganj University, Dr. Bonivaran Ghosh, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Sri Gopal Banerjee College, and I'm also delighted to welcome all academicians, research scholars, other participants, and our other viewers. So now I request our principal, our chief patron of the webinar, Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, to give a welcome address. Sir, please, sir.
Good morning to everybody. I express my honor and gratitude in welcoming all of academicians, researchers, businessmen, and other dignitaries in attending in webinar program. Actually, our Department of Commerce and BVOG department organizing today's webinar program. I also thankful to Dr. Sunil Kumar Jadhav and other professors of Commerce Department and also professors of Software Department. I also express my thanks to our colleagues of Egra SSB College for enlightening me to organize this type of program. As you all know, today our country is running with a pandemic disease, and that disease at present 45 lakhs people are suffering this COVID-19 outbreak, and more than 3.5 lakhs already were died on this coronavirus disease. And also today's topics is more emerging and more attractive and present economic crisis, not only in India but globally arrest all the economic activity. I think today's seminar is more appropriate to all of us. Actually, Indian economy is expected to lose more than 32,000 crore per day during lockdown period. Moreover, many companies like Larsen Turbo, Tata, Mahindra, Maruti, and others company already stopped their manufacturing or production, so that unemployment problem that today more than 25% in comparison with during pre-lockdown period that is running only 6.7%. Not only that, other sectors like aviation, like tours and travels, real estate sectors, and other sectors also decrease their production, decrease their performance. Although Government of India in last phase, our Honorable Prime Minister has declared Atmanirbharan 20 lakh thousand crores for the helpful of mankind, like health security and agriculture and other purpose. I think that is to some extent benefited to our human beings. All of us, I think today's our resource person, Professor Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar, Professor and Director of MBA, Raiganj University, as a resource person, and other resource person, Bonivaran Ghosh, will deliver their lectures today's webinar program. I express again my regards to this resource person on behalf of Egra SSB College. I again express my thanks and regards to all of us attending this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Sir, for your valuable speech. So before we move on to the actual program, I think we should have a little bit knowledge about the what kind of problem the COVID-19 has created throughout the world in different sector. So I just want to give a brief introduction about various problems that has been arise due to COVID-19 in India and throughout the world. So, if we look into the human history, we will find that several pandemic has arisen during different period of time and killed thousands of people. And if you take an example, that few pandemic that has been occurred during different period of time, that is smallpox, tuberculosis, a plague, influenza virus, and Spanish flu. Out of those, Black Death, which is also called as plague, which killed more than 200 million people during 14th century. And other outbreaks similar to coronavirus, where SARS, that is severe acute respiratory syndrome, and MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome. But out of them, uh, coronavirus is more deadlier than other virus, as because it affected huge number of people and killed huge number of people during a small period of time as compared to other two viruses. And COVID-19, despite of having lower fatality rate, has caused thrice the number of deaths as compared to the death caused by SARS and MERS uh, combinedly. And if you look into the other aspect of COVID-19, it has been also observed that the symptom of COVID-19 is similar to the normal influenza that also create a very difficult for it to be detected very easily, but the death rate in COVID-19 is much more higher than other normal influenza virus. And in addition, I can also say that it is more contagious than other normal influenza viruses as because of its asymptomatic condition. And also it is also a major matter of concern that till now there is no any vaccine or drug is available. And if you look into the other aspect, that how it affected the business, trade, and commerce, then we can say that it has not only affected the million of people, but also killed thousands of people within a very small period of time, and it has uh, given the rise to financial volatility, pause the global economic activity, crash the stock market, and put the whole economy into uncertainty. That is the main problem. And every day we are getting updates about the number of people being affected day by day. So I'm not going to discuss the numbers, but one thing I want to add that the main objective of this webinar is to create an awareness about the various problems that has been arised due to this COVID-19 pandemic and what are the suitable measures that we could take in order to revitalize the economy. And one more thing I want to add that the platform Facebook Live has been chosen for live telecast of this webinar is to so that we can reach uh, within unlimited people. We do not want to remain within our participant. And also one thing that in our country, in India, MSME sector is the most employment generating sector, and mostly MSME sector is managed, controlled, and organized by sole proprietorship owners, and they are not in a position to take expert advice by paying some monies. That's why I think our webinar will also help those people uh, because our expert person will deliver a lecture on the matter how to revive our economy. So that's why with this, uh, I request our resource person, Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar, to deliver his lecture. Before starting, I want to say something about Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar. As he is my teacher, my mentor, and my everything. And I think in the field of commerce, he does not require any introduction. So now I request Chittaranjan sir to present his lecture. So thank you. Over to you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sunil. So very good morning to all of you online in this webinar. It's a very interesting position this moment that IGRA Sarada Soshi Bhushan College has organized this webinar, and this is completely new to me. My new experience is to deliver something over this new platform. So I was thinking of whether I will be able to properly deliver or not. Anyway, I have to do it as I have been asked to do. As you know, I am coming straight away to the seminar title. The title is Post-Pandemic Business uh, Problems and Suitable Measures for its Revitalization. As you know, the corona pandemic has been a very serious concern all throughout the globe. There has been dramatic interruption of business enterprises all throughout the globe. And countries like India and some other less developed economies, they are not so having good sort of infrastructure. So really, they are in a serious problem to run and continue their business activities. Corona pandemic actually has stopped the entire episode of business production, transportation of goods and services, except only those are for essentials, commodities for human lives. Most of the factories, offices have been shut down, hotels, restaurants, all shops, small businesses, everything, almost everything in the economy have remained closed and shut down because of the corona pandemic. It's a very serious concern. And particularly, I may highlight that the small and medium sized enterprises in our country, MSMEs, they are very much in a problem because of their less of resources, cash reserves with them, availability with them. And in India, it is to be noted that 6 crores number of MSMEs in India actually contribute 30% of India's GDP. And millions of organized and unorganized labor force workers are with these MSCs for getting their livelihood. But because of pandemic, they are in a devastating situation. Most of them have lost their jobs. You know, there are so many migrant laborers from different parts of our country who are returning back to their home because they have lost their jobs, they have lost their livelihood, they are not eating, they are in a problem where to live, how to live, and they had to come back to their own destination. But you have heard that and seen that while returning, they have faced much of misery. There are much of problems because of accidents, some other hazards. Many of them have died. It's a very serious concern. We must be aware of this and we should take all possible measures so that they could come back. So this is the picture. The laborer, the worker, they have come back from their place of work to their destination, their own villages, to their own destinations on states. And these have been a major concern for most of the business enterprises to run their business activities because there is lack of workforce. The people are gone, they have lost their job opportunities. So this is the problem. And we see what has happened because of this corona pandemic. The customers are home locked. They are unable to come out. The market is not available. Products are not available. There is short supply of cash flow. There is capital erosion because people have to have their life. If they do not earn profit, what they can do? They can have to rely on their capital investment. In many of the cases, mostly the weaker industries, small industries, they have to destroy their capital base because they are unable to earn profit in this pandemic situation. This is really very great problem to these small enterprises. So naturally, we are here to discuss how business enterprises can have the opportunity to revive, to revitalize, what we should do, what should be the criteria for considering the ways and means to overcome this great deadlock, bottleneck situation prevailing all throughout the globe. And for this purpose, we have to have some threadbare analysis and scanning of the business situation thus prevailing in our country. But before that, as we are thinking, we are destroyed. So before this destruction, what is a business? What are the essential striking features of a business? That we have to consider, and then we consider where we are presently. If we consider what are the striking features of a running business, number one, it has good and effective marketing, which means that the business has good marketability of its products. There are plenty of products available in the market. The market is wide, having wide coverage all throughout the country. Second aspect that a business should have, that is good customer base. That is, the customers are very much loyal and very much dependent on the product. They are they do not have any demand shifting. They are always interested to buy the products of the company. This way, this is the important second aspect, that a business is good one because it has a good customer base. Third aspect is there must be regular manufacturing and trading activities. It suggests that the business is regular in its manufacturing and production activities. It is producing right quality of product at right point of time so that customers can be satisfied. It is very much important for a running business to run properly because the customers are the linchpin of the present marketing strata. You cannot disregard customers, their wants, their preferences. Earlier, the king were the manufacturers. What they could produce, the customers had to buy. But today it has been totally changed. Radical change is there. What customers want today, if you produce, only then you can survive. Otherwise, you will not. So this is the third aspect, that there is proper manufacturing and trading activity. And fourth is money power and profit earning capacity. Money power in the sense that is capital investment. As we know that business must have proper balancing, judicious balancing of capital, both in long-term purposes and short-term purposes. Otherwise, the aspect of profitability and liquidity will be seriously hampered. If you give much emphasis on long-term capital, you will be losing your liquidity, endangering your liquidity. And if you give much emphasis on short-term capital investment, then you will be losing your profitability. So there is a much of problem for this purpose. And these are the striking features. That is, there must be good marketability, there must be good customer base, there must be proper manufacturing and trading operations, and the fourth one, there should have proper money power and profit earning capacity. As we know, profit guarantees survival. No organization can survive without a reasonable profit. So these are the features of a striking business. We can say this is a business. Good. But what is presently being seen in the economy? We see and we are telling that most of the businesses are not running properly, or they are destroyed, devastated, because all these features are strikingly absent today. We see that there are no customers in the market because of COVID lockdown or social distancing or whatever might be. There are lack of available products in the market. The market has been encroached. Market has been shortened, not wide. There are much of problem of cash supply. Organizations are facing much of cash problem to maintain their day-to-day operational activity. So these are strikingly absent, mostly absent in most of the business entities in our country. So what do we need? We need to have a proper scanning and analysis of the business scenario such that we can have the opportunity to give some recommendations what to do, what not to do in this present scenario as a revitalization measure. So naturally, we are considering and I am advocating that at this present juncture, it is highly needed that the business scenario, business positions have to be properly scanned and analyzed so that we can identify what are the business sort, that is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. If we analyze and we find that the business has a efficient marketing system and there are good market, customers are loyal to the products, to the product brand and to the manufacturers, they have their continued demand for the products, they have good buying habits. If we consider all these, so we can say that these are the strength of the business. Again, if we see while scanning that a business is facing an inefficient marketing channel, that is, the salespeople are ineffective. They are reluctant to serve right quality of product or supply right quality of services to the customers, both as to quality and time aspects. Or we see that there is a channel conflict between the channel members. As you know, in a channel distribution channel, there are different channel members: wholesalers, retailers, agents, wholesaling agents, distributors, etc. These channel members very often come in contact regarding some conflict arising between them. These conflicts are of great significance. These conflicts may be mainly of two types. If we consider it is a vertical conflict, that is from top to bottom, that is from higher level to lower level, that is when the conflict is between wholesaler and retailer, that is vertical channel conflict. It's a great problem. If the distributors are ready but the retailers are disinterested to carry on, then there will be problem in the distribution channel. There may be horizontal marketing conflict, channel conflict. That is when the conflict arises between the channel members in the same level, in between the retailers, in between the distributors, there are some conflict. Suppose retailer 1 has crossed the territory and jumped to some other retailer's point. This is a horizontal channel conflict. This is very much graving situation. It has to be tackled properly. If it is not tackled properly, channel system cannot operate efficiently. So this is very much important. There is another aspect also I can like to say here, that is multi-channel conflict. That is, businessmen, in addition to distributors and retailers, they may set their own supply channel, that is retail outlet. And because of maintaining company's own retail shop and through distributors, there may be price wars, there may be problems at the advertisement, and there arise some conflict. This is called multi-channel conflict. Multi-channel operating, that is, there are distributors, there are sales agent, there are retailers, in addition to the manufacturer have own retail outlet. So these taken together may be coined as the S is strength, that is W is weakness. This is weakness because you have inefficient sales force, there is channel conflict prevailing, you are unable to manage your channel members. So these are actually weakness of the organization. Second is opportunity. While considering different aspects of business, we may consider that there are some positions that the customers are preferring, particularly in this situation, they are preferring online trading, online business, that is e-commerce. There are scopes of e-commerce. Customers are interested to buy products through e-commerce because it has some inherent benefits. It is less time consuming. If customers need not have to go for market for product choice, they can do it online. They can go for price comparison, etc. All these they can done easily with the help of online marketing facility. So this is very much important to them. So this is called opportunity to the business. That is, business is in the opportunity to adopt e-commerce to tackle the business problems. The fourth aspect is threats. That is, which are against the organization, which are hazardous to the organization. It may be observed while scanning a business that the market is highly competitive. There is emergence of substitute products. There are global players that are ruling the market. So because of that, there are much of threats to the organization. Despite all our efforts, we cannot go ahead because there are so many players competing in the market. This is called threats. So these are the four aspects where from we can understand what are the present position of the business. We have to have a good analysis of this very carefully. If we fail to analyze the present scenario, we will not be able to give any prescription or rather recommendations how to overcome this pandemic situation. This is the first aspect. That is, every business, this is recommendation you can say, that every business must have a good sort of estimating or evaluating the present position of the business as to its strength, opportunities, weakness, and threats. Second aspect, which is highly needed, that is planning. Planning is the essence of success. Everybody accept it. Without planning, nothing can be done properly. So the business organization must have looked for some aspect how they can overcome the problems of regularizing their business activities. These questions are to be taken into considerations in the planning stage. How they can raise much of revenue or generate much of revenue to earn the livelihood to maintain the business. Third aspect, third question may crop up between direct selling and retailing, that is in indirect selling. Which one to be taken into account? You know or we understand that direct selling means marketers or suppliers directly supplying to the customers. It is not feasible always that the manufacturer will be manufacturing and at the same time will be rendering services. It is not necessary. So what is needed? Indirect selling, we may have some other opposite aspect, that is indirect selling. That is, the manufacturers are not selling directly, they are selling through distribution channel, selling middlemen. But there are some inherent benefits of these two. If we adopt direct selling, what are the benefits? Interesting benefits are there. The manufacturers can have direct access to the customers. They can come in contact directly with the customers, can understand what are their preferences, can have direct interchange of opinion in between them. There is straightforward attitude for motivating the customers. It is more effective for customer relation management. Customer tie-up, customer bondage can be developed more appropriately if there is direct selling. But as I have told, it is not possible. The manufacturer should remain busy with manufacture. They should not give emphasis on selling. If both these are taken together, there will be a problem. So there is indirect selling. That is indirect marketing. That is, the manufacturer is business to manufacture, and others are performing on their behalf for marketing the products into the market. Indirect selling is very much essential because the middlemen have much of infrastructure, they have much of market information, they have expertise channel activities, by employing all these, they can manage business properly. So in between direct selling and indirect selling, which one to be considered, we have to have some analysis in this way. Again, we have to consider how much we can undertake e-commerce. E-commerce is good, but there are some limitations because e-commerce facilities are not readily available at the farthest corner of the country in the rural remote areas. It has goodness, it can be easily conducted, but there are some problems. Then it is very important to look into the how to administer sales promotion, sales campaign, personal selling. There must be planning. You must plan for sales promotion. Sales promotion is what? It is something different from advertising. Advertising gives us the logic why one should buy the product, but sales promotion gives economic. Okay, there was some problem. Where I am back. So actually, sales promotion is something more in gravity than advertising. Sales campaign, personal selling, it is another important aspect. It has to be properly planned. Personal selling means that is selling door to door to the customers. It has different theory. Three important theories are there. The most important is AIDAS theory. AIDAS. A represents attention, I represents interest creation, D represents desire, A represents action, S represents satisfaction. All these. There are others like buying formula, behavioral equation theory, etc. Again, there must be planning how much e-payment facility can be entertained in e-commerce instead of COD delivery. Because if you go for if you offer COD, your sale will be there, but you will be getting money later on at the time of delivery. But today, in most of the cases, businessmen are offering only online trade that the customers have to pay instantly by means of e-payment, not COD. So we can plan for this. So this is the important aspect, planning. Third part is perspective. Perspective is Perspective is what? Perspective refers to actually what we are doing and what others are doing in the society. This is very important. All are in the society. Every businesses, every human being are within the social atmosphere, social ambience. So we must consider while scanning our business what other businesses are doing. And if we analyze and scan and understand that because of business necessity, presently they are undertaking or they have chosen home delivery to satisfy the customer in this particular position when customers are unable to come to the market, the businessmen on their own move, they are providing home delivery. This is very important. It may so happen that there is local manpower, local resources. So as a survival measure, businesses can adopt this, that they also follow others what they are doing. If they are undertaking business by means of home delivery to best satisfy the customers, if they are running their business with local resources, local manpower available. Why I am telling local manpower? Because the migrant laborers have left the business place. They had to left rather. So if we like to run business or resume business, we have to depend on local workforce. It may so happen that the local workforce are not so competent like the migrants who are performing or helping. Maybe everyone should accept it. Proper training, proper guidance may be provided to them, to the local people. This will help the local people to survive. This will help the business to survive. Then again, the small and micro enterprises, as I mentioned earlier, they are having much of resource constraint. They are having less of cash resources. Infrastructure are lackings are there. So they must consider their position, their ground reality, and they should act accordingly. That is, they should follow what the others are doing in the business. Then is then next aspect is prioritization. Prioritization means to give emphasis, to give focus. It is very much important to consider that. I'm sorry to take tea. Please don't mind. Because it's Sunil house, I am here. Sunil's house, I am here. He is my student, so they have offered me a cup of tea, and I think it is better to continue my lecture while taking tea. Please excuse me. So regarding prioritization, I am telling that it means that we must analyze, we must scan where we can give emphasis, which one to be focused. And for this purpose, we will consider the internal dependencies or external dependencies. Means, should we depend on internal resources or should we depend on external resources? It depends upon the situation. If we see that internal resources are quite sufficient, why should we go for external activities, external resources? So we must give prioritization. We must give focus. Which one? There are some problems because if we give emphasis on external agencies, external dependencies, there will be pressure. We will have to pay instant cash. We will have to provide some other benefits to them. This may not be readily possible or available at this juncture. So we must prioritize. Then we shall consider what are our organizational resources, including physical and human resources. Which one to be considered? There are marketing forces. There are customers' choices and preferences. There are government restrictions. Governments are always giving every morning some information. You do this, you do not do this. Or you reshuffle your business, your opening time of a business from this to that. So you must give focus, give proper weightage to this because you cannot ignore, you cannot disobey the government rules and regulations. You'll be in danger. So these have to be prioritized. In this juncture, I like to say also that we should not prioritize at this juncture to undertake any new venture or new business, particularly at this moment, because a new business may have some unknown risk factors. In addition to that, opening a new business will require some further capital investment. And you know, present market situation is totally absurd. Investors are highly reluctant to enter into investment position. There is continuous ups and downs in the market, share market. Nifty and Sensex are always uh, totally volatile. Mostly they are decreasing. So people are disinterested to provide capital. And at this juncture, it is not advisable. It is expected that the businessman, as far as possible, should leave the ideology of entering into a new venture at this moment. What they can do? They can do what? They can undertake local manpower resources. They can undertake local sales channel. They can use local resources as a priority and as a short-term measure of revitalization. Then we are coming on to the preparedness for action. What is preparedness? The meaning is that mentally and strategically we should be ready how to overcome from this stagnant situation. Everything is stagnant, unremunerative, less promising. So the businessman must have mental stability and preparedness to go ahead. It is not that they will wait unlimited time for the good days to come. It cannot. No one can survive without having some activities. So we cannot wait. Businesses cannot wait. The society cannot run properly without business activities. So what is needed? Despite labor shortage, despite cash shortage, it is advised that the business should start their business operation on a reduced scale as far as possible. There may be some businesses that where manufacturing activity has to be started at a particular level of operation. At least 60% production level is there, only then it can be operated. But for small businesses, this situation not that. So small businesses, at least they can start business in a reduced scale to overcome this. E-business facility, online trading, retail sales, daily sales should be taken to tackle the pandemic situation. And over and above this, the businesses have to consider that they are in a situation that everything is adverse to them. So in this situation, what they can do, they can adopt strategic pricing. They can adopt dynamic pricing. As you know, IRCTC, railways, they adopt this. Many other businesses have started applying this. Dynamic pricing is a very interesting pricing. In this pricing system, the prices of the products are made at a high level if demand is high. If demand is continually growing, the prices will be continually growing. In case of aviation industry, railways, dynamic pricing is on. There should be new age marketing. New age marketing means in the marketing there should be new type of marketing. That is online marketing, online trading. It is very much important. As I told sometimes before that online marketing is very much preferable, particularly to the younger generation. They are very much happy with this. Whenever they give some information, instantly they get the delivery within some days, and they are happy. They do not have to move to the market. By staying at home, the general people can adopt this e-marketing facility. This is new age marketing. In addition to that, marketing and supply chain have to be aligned with the market demand. That is, if the market demand is changing, accordingly your marketing and supply chain should be managed properly. There should be a good balancing between these two. Another important aspect, these are the recommendations, that the businesses may undertake a regular periodic phone call to its customer, so retain the customers base. If the customers get a phone call from the supplier or manufacturer that how are you doing, are you happy with the product, simply they will be in a better mental position to show their loyalty to the organization. There will be a tie-up, bondage will be there. In addition to that, one important aspect that there should not be any marketing myopia in attitude in your business. If you are studying, do not apply myopic attitude in your marketing. That is, you are simply thinking of selling, not the customers. No, you must undertake sale, but at the same time you must pay attention to the customers. Your sales will not continue unless the customers are satisfied, unless the customers are given proper priority. This is the theory given by Theodore Levitt in 1960 in the Journal of Business Harvard School. Myopic marketing, marketing myopia. Very much important. Businessmen at this moment, they must consider that as they are in need of immediate cash, so by any means I will sell, I will disregard the customer. No, it is a short run policy. It is a dangerous policy. It should be avoided by any means. So considering all these, I can once again say that in this pandemic situation, what we need, we have to have a good scanning, good analysis of the business scenario. What is a business? What should be a business? What are the most bifurcating positions that the businesses are away from the normal situation? We have to understand, we have to scan them, we have to make proper planning, we have to understand what are others doing in the society. We should follow them. Then we should consider which one to prioritize such that people can have a good businessmen cannot which are very vital, which are very crucial, those should be given proper weightage. And then we should have mental preparation, mental stability, how we can fight with this pandemic. For this purpose, we must undertake, we must be very careful at due course of time, and if all sorry for the intervention. Actually, it was not working properly. You can consider as a break. Anyway, so I had very again on my once again. I mean, okay, okay. Okay. Now, at the very back end of my deliberation, I say that I have tried to give some recommendations what the business organizations may undertake at this juncture. But I only appeal to all that these prescriptions may not be equally applicable to all businesses. It depends upon the nature of the business and their line of action. Anyway, I have tried to give some suggestive recommendations to the business organization how they can overcome the pandemic and how they can resume their normal business activity, because a life cannot sustain by means of any destruction or damage. It has to come out of that destruction. It has to come out of that problem and
হ্যাঁ ফ্যান চালিয়ে দে এই তো হয়েছে হ্যাঁ স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছেন
হ্যাঁ শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ আপনি
আপনি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
সো
হ্যালো 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 শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? হ্যালো হ্যালো
এসেছে এবার দেখো
হ্যালো
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ হ্যাঁ স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছেন
হ্যালো শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ওকে ওকে ওকে
হ্যালো
সো হ্যাঁ ওকে শুনতে পাচ্ছি
হ্যালো শোনা যাচ্ছে? হ্যালো
ঠিক আছে
হ্যাঁ শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? হ্যালো 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 স্যার হ্যালো 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 স্যার
ওকে ওকে
ওকে সো
হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ
শুনতে
বলুন
পাচ্ছেন প্রফেসর যাদব?
ওকে
হ্যালো
ওকে ওকে
শুনতে
স্যার শুনতে
পাচ্ছেন?
পাচ্ছি একদম একদম
আচ্ছা
ক্লিয়ার ক্লিয়ার স্যার okay so
ঠিক আছে।
thank you very much Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar for this nice deliberation you have considered all the aspect of various problem that has been arised and you have also suggested some measures that could be taken to revitalize our economy so thank you very much sir we have some question, but we will take it at the end of the session. So now I request our next resource person, Dr. Boni Boran Ghosh, to present his lecture. Sir, kindly, sir, you start, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, coordinator. Respected principal, Egra SSB College, and teaching and non-teaching staff members of the college. Respected Professor Chittaranjan Sarkar, my beloved students, and respected participants in webinar, and especially Coordinator, Professor Sunil Jadhav. Mankind has been confronting an awkward predicament unprecedented in the history of this civilization, inflicted upon by the pandemic. At this juncture, it is the really a fruitful endeavor of the Department of Commerce of Agra SSB College in hosting this webinar, which is a commendable one, and I feel deeply honored for being here as a speaker. The topic which I have chosen is pandemic and social mobility, a hypothesis. At a glance, it may appear to be not at par with the theme of the seminar, but as the inner kernel of the matter gets unfolded in course of the discussion, I believe that it will do justice. The first industrial revolution began in Britain in the late 18th century with the mechanization of the textile industry. Tasks previously done laboriously by hand in hundreds of weavers' cottages were brought together in a single cotton mill, and the factory was born. The second industrial revolution came in the early 20th century when Henry Ford mastered the moving assembly line and ushered in the age of mass production. During the last part of the 20th century, we came across another revolution which is called Third Industrial Revolution, and in that case, manufacturing went digital. Since the beginning of this century, we come across another industrial revolution, which we may call Fourth Industrial Revolution. And this is, however, fundamentally different. It is characterized by a range of new technologies that are fusing in physical, digital, and biological worlds, impacting the disciplines, economies, and industries. Globalization and the Fourth Industrial Revolution have generated great benefits to society, raising the living standards of billions and lifting millions out of poverty. But they have also exacerbated inequalities in our societies, inequalities rising even in those countries that have experienced rapid growth. The social and economic consequences of inequality are profound and far-reaching. A growing sense of unfairness, perceived loss of identity and dignity, weakening social fabric, eroding trust in institutions, disenchantment with political processes, and an erosion of the social contract. The response must include a concerted effort to create new pathways to socio-economic mobility, ensuring everyone has fair opportunities for success. In this context, the World Economic Forum launches the Global Social Mobility Report 2020 to provide a much-needed assessment of the current state of the paths to social mobility around the world. Social mobility can also be understood as moving upward or downward, whereby people see their circumstances become better or worse off than those of their parents or within their own lifetime. The movement can obviously occur in any of the three directions, from lower to higher, from higher to lower, or between two positions at the same level. The first two types of movement are known as vertical mobility, and the third one as horizontal mobility. In other words, when a person changes his status by moving from one position to another, the movement is called vertical mobility. There are other concepts of mobility also, namely the absolute mobility, which ignores ranking and simply considers whether adults tend to have higher size adjusted incomes than their parents did at the same age, after taking into consideration the increase in the cost of living. But what is more important for us at this hour is the relative mobility. It is about how the ranking of the adults against their peers is tied to ranking of their parents against their peers. That is, ignoring the money terms, we have to consider whether adults who have ranked high or low in the income distribution also have their parents ranking high or low. The notion of relative social mobility is more closely related to the social and economic status of the individual relative to their parents. In a country with perfect social mobility, a child born in low-income family would have as much chance to earn a high income as a child born to parents who earn a high income. In economic terms, it is often approximated by looking at the concept of intergenerational income persistence. Studies of intergenerational persistence are concerned with measuring the strength of the relationship between the socio-economic status of parents and the socio-economic outcomes of their children as adults. A strong association between incomes across generations indicates that children from a poor family are likely to be relatively poor as adults, and that the elite positions in society are close to most people. Strong intergenerational persistence is frequently considered an indicator of insufficient equality of opportunity. Intergenerational persistence can be measured in a variety of ways. The standard measure is obtained from a simple linear regression of children's log income on parents' log income. The slope coefficient, referred to as beta, gives an estimate of the intergenerational elasticity of children's income with respect to their parents' income. For example, say that one father had twice the income of another father. The wealthier father's child would then have 50% more income than the child of the poorer father if the estimated statistic is 0.5. If the elasticity is 0, that means that a child's adult income is not related at all to parental status. And so the best guess of a child's adult income would be to take the average for the child's cohort. The relationship between a leading measure of economic inequality, as it is measured by the Gini coefficient, and the degree to which one's parents' income predicts one's own income, that is intergenerational income elasticity. This graph is known as Great Gatsby curve, which reveals a strong negative linear relationship in which countries with high levels of relative social mobility, such as Finland, Norway, or Denmark, also exhibit lower levels of income inequality. Conversely, countries with low relative social mobility, such as China or Brazil, also exhibit high levels of economic inequality. Let us now consider in this context the World Inequality Report, which was published in 2018. The report says the share of total national income accounted for by just that nation's top 10% earners was 37% in Europe, 41% in China, 48% in Russia, 47% in US, Canada, and around 55% in Sub-Saharan Africa, 55% in Brazil, and 55% in India. Since 1980, income inequality has increased rapidly in North America, China, India, and Russia. In India, it was 31% in 1980. The Global Social Mobility Report actually constructed an index which is called the Global Social Mobility Index that uses 10 pillars mainly, which in turn are broken down into 5 determinants of social mobility. Number 1, health. Number 2, education, in which are included access to education, quality of education, and equity, and lifelong learning. Number 3, technology. Number 4, work, in which are included opportunities, wages, and conditions. And number 5, protection and institutions, which include social protection and inclusive institutions. India ranks 76th in a total number of countries exhibited by the index 82 with a score of 42.7. Despite a significant decrease in the percentage of people living in absolute poverty, the report says, there are several areas for improvement for India to provide for more equally shared opportunity to its population. First, because of low life expectancy and a low health access and quality performance, it scores 54.6 on the health pillar. On the educational front, it scores 41.1 on the education access pillar and 31.3 on education quality and equity due to its pupil to teacher ratios, which are still very high across pre-primary, primary, and secondary levels, among other factors. In terms of work opportunities, India has the second highest level of workers in vulnerable employment in the ranking 76.2%, behind Saudi Arabia, and a low female labor participation rate 29.8% of the male labor participation. Another area where real structural reform needs to take place is in terms of fair wages. Social protection coverage is also very low in comparison with its regional peers, and overall social protection expenditure is very low, 2.68% of GDP. India's position, if we now sum up, in terms of the pillars: health, 73rd position; education access, 66th; education quality and equity, 77; lifelong learning, 41st; technology access, 73rd; work opportunities, 75th; fair wage distribution, 79; the working conditions, 53rd; social protection, 76th; and inclusive institutions, 67. In the fourth industrial revolution, human capital is the driving force of economic growth, and frictions that prevent the best allocation of talent and impede the accumulation of human capital may significantly limit growth. Inequalities of opportunity and low social mobility underpin such frictions and also hinder the drivers of productivity. For example, a recent impact assessment estimates the cost of low levels of social mobility on the economic growth of the United Kingdom. According to this analysis, low social mobility will cost the UK economy £140 billion a year over the period to 2050, amounting to £1.3 trillion in lost GDP over the next 40 years. Recent research suggests that low social mobility is an important component of the negative impact of income inequality and economic growth, whereby low levels of equality of opportunity may act as a magnifier of the negative impact of income inequalities on the rate of economic growth. Low social mobility entrenches those inequalities and acts as a drag on economic growth. Globally, a significant driver of economic inequality and declining equality of opportunity within economies has been the declining income share of labor. That is, the proportion of the benefits of economic growth accruing to workers in the form of wages relative to an increase in the income share of capital over the past several decades, going to those at the top of the global income distribution, has increased significantly over the period 1962 to 2017. The two most frequently cited causes of this polarization of economic inequalities are globalization and technology. Globalization has increased inequality within countries by transferring low-skilled jobs in high-productivity sectors from high-income economies to lower-income ones, and consequently penalized workers in specific locations and jobs. Technology has impacted inequality by reducing demand for low-skilled jobs and rewarding high-skilled jobs disproportionately. In addition, recent research has found that an important contribution to the decline of the labor share of income and polarization of economic opportunity has been the impact increasingly played by a small group of the most productive firms in each industry, as markets are increasingly dominated by superstars firms with high profits and a low share of labor in firm value added. Many of the underlying elements of the fourth industrial revolution, such as the economic dynamics of digital platforms, big data and automation, promoting market concentration, all these factors risk further accelerating these trends without proactive measure to enhance opportunity for all. The economic shifts necessary to move towards a greener economy may further exacerbate the burden on low income individuals and further entrench or worsen mobility patterns. Whatever the exact combination of factors that has recently led to low social mobility outcomes in various economies and geographies, it is clear that the corresponding inability for individuals to fulfill their potential and aspiration has been proving an increasing erosion of social cohesion globally. The resulting sentiment is a growing pessimism by individuals about their ability to improve their own economic and social situation defined by these systemic trends rather than individual merit or effort. Such perceptions may have a profound impact on people's well being and life satisfaction, as well as affecting an individual's engagement with social, political, and economic life. In fact, empirical behavioral economic studies have revealed that when people believe that income and opportunity distribution is unfair, they disengage from social and economic life. This in turn may contribute to societal polarization, the weakening of social fabric, and a rise of extremist sentiment. Let us now consider the world economic situation in the wake of or at the event of the pandemic and before that. South Asia entered the pandemic with serious economic vulnerabilities after a year of weak growth. South Asia experienced in 2019 its weakest growth in 10 years, in line with weak global growth in investments and trends. After the United States-China trade agreement, there were first signs of a mild rebound, but these green shoots never had the opportunity to mature because of the pandemic. This weak growth in South Asia came with and was partly caused by rising public debt levels and mounting non-performing assets in banking sectors. The global economy seemed to have hit the trough around November 2019, but with the spread of the virus in the manufacturing hub in Wuhan, China, hopes for a quick global recovery evaporated. For most of 2019, global trade was not growing and leading indicators were in negative territory. The scenarios described above are based on different channels through which the crisis affects the economies of South Asia. The channels with the largest negative impacts can be conceptually divided into five. First, a sharp drop in external demand. Second, a shock to supply due to bottlenecks in global value chains. Third, a domestic demand impact due to lockdowns affecting employment, particularly in services. Four, the impact of stress in the financial sector on consumer and business sentiment. And five, price channels. And last one is deepening inequality. The unfolding economic crisis is unique in several ways. While normal downturns are caused by lack of effective demand, this crisis is caused by supply constraints. While typically manufacturing is the most cyclical part of the economy, this time service sectors are hardest hit. While usually GDP decelerates faster than consumption, as consumers move their spending over economic cycles, this time consumption is falling sharply. Moreover, supply disruptions and panic buying can jeopardize food security. The sudden disappearance of service sector jobs and the rise in food prices have created economic hardships, especially for people in the informal sector. At this juncture, our hypothesis might be this: the pandemic in the coming years will hinder the social mobility, and the government policies should be directed to that sort of industrialization which would be able to accommodate low-skilled workers in industries that would act as supplementary to the major industries, and the government must also play a proactive role in ensuring social protection and inclusion. I conclude with a few lines written by Swami Vivekananda in a letter to Miss MacLeod. I look behind and after and find that all is right. In my deepest sorrows, there is a soul of light. Let us wait for that light. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonivaran Ghosh, for such a nice deliberation about the social mobility. Uh, thank you very much once again, sir, for giving us your valuable time and presenting such a nice topic in front of us. It will benefited a lot to all people who are participant or also who have not registered with us, as because our video will be available throughout the live on our page. So thank you very much once again, sir. Now we have question answer session. So we have some question from our participant. Uh, uh, so CRS sir, CRS sir. We have some question.
Okay,
Uh,
let them come
so
to me.
okay.
Let
Yes,
them
sir.
come to me.
Okay, so one participant asked that how job will be created after lockdown for commerce student or other student. Is there any way? Because due to lockdown, production process has been totally stopped. So how
চলছে।
Welcome back to the question and answer session. The question is very clear, as I have already told, that whether the job will be there, whether there will be the job opportunity. Actually, all opportunities have been totally destroyed, particularly at this moment. We have to wait for some time, and only thereafter we can have the opportunity. In this scenario, what is very much important to consider that the businesses are lagging behind. They don't have adequate cash reserves, they don't have adequate resources with them to offer employment opportunity among the unemployed youths of our country. It is expected, it is highly expected that the business will come round soon and they will be coming to their own feet, and after that only they can provide job opportunities among the jobless people in our country. This much.
sir, one question from one candidate participant. He want to know which sector will prosper post lockdown in near future.
In the post pandemic situation, actually all these sectors have opportunities to grow and to prosper. But as you want to know, I think that the industrial goods and the regular consumer goods industries will be much advantageous in this situation to go ahead, because industry, they produce so kind of products that are very much needed for our social lives, and general goods, that is consumer goods, these are also for our domestic use and daily life, so these will prosper along with some other sectors will also go ahead. Exactly, there cannot be any such prescription who will be taking the grip of the market. It is dependent upon the customer's base, their choices, their preferences, their needs, overall market booming, overall government restrictions, etc. Okay.
So one more question. Parimal Kumar Bera is asking that please recommend the job opportunities for temporary worker who had returned back to different part of India.
Uh, it is a social responsibility based question. As you see that in your locality, some workers have come back from their place of work and they are in a dying condition. You have some opportunities to provide employment. You have a small scale industry. So my appeal to you, persons like you, industrialists like you, that whenever there is scope to employ, you take the local resources, you take the local manpower. It will help develop the economy and the local people will get the opportunity to survive. It is our social responsibility. If we fail to do this, social disbalancing may appear. Please do not do this. Do whatever you can provide your organization to move ahead with the help of local resources, local manpower, local infrastructure as more as possible. And this will open up job opportunities to the migrants, workers who have come back from their place of work.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Uh, Now one question. Nobendu Bosak has asked to our Professor Dr. Bonivaran Ghosh. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Hmm. Yeah,
Huh. So
I
he
hear you.
asked that what are the measures to be adopted to distribute money towards poor majority of India to overcome the economic crisis in current and after this pandemic situation? You can see the
Actually,
question.
this policy has already been prescribed by many economists, including Abhijit Vinayak Banerjee also. But I think that this will not be an easy task for the government to distribute money, because the channels through which money will be deposited in the account of these devastated people are not quite easy and are not operating in a systematic manner, because all these persons must have bank accounts or access to banks. And so it is first of all necessary to get a knowledge of how much people are there who have to be provided with all these kinds of money. So only in that case, after the gathering, after storing the knowledge base for this, only the government can pursue its policy of distributing or channelizing money.
Thank you very much, sir. Uh,
Did you hear
just a,
me?
yeah,
What
yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
said? Acha,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay.
yes, sir.
Hmm.
I hear you. I can hear you. Okay, one more question. Okay, one more question for CRS, sir.
Okay.
This is the question, sir. So you can see the question. Some of the organized sector don't have the capacity to deal with the pandemic situation. So, sir, how they can gradually survive from these difficulties? Actually, I think you have already answered, but sir,
Okay, okay. In this question, you have put the ideology that the unorganized sector don't have the capacity to deal with the pandemic situation, because because they are unorganized, they don't have the normal situation to raise resources from the economy, from the social sphere. But uh, this is not the only deadlock that being organized they are unable. Being unorganized also, they can have the opportunity to survive if they move with their mental stability. As I told earlier, there must be some mental determination that in spite of our unorganized situation, we can go ahead. As you go ahead, ultimately you will be in a position to get the situation and to get the resources that you need for your survival. If you wait for the good days, you cannot get the good. If you have the opportunity or even you have the mental stability to go ahead, that I will go ahead, and ultimately the goodness will come to you. This is the prescription. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Uh, One question from Bihar. Sir, can I speak in Hindi, sir? Serious, sir.
Yes, yes.
मेरा सवाल है घोष ओ सॉरी एक्चुअली फ्रॉम घोष सर घोष सर वन क्वेश्चन
Hmm.
फ्रॉम बिहार टू यू सर
Uh-huh.
सर डेडिकेट इन हिंदी मेरा सवाल है घोष सर से कि प्रवासी मजदूरों एक्चुअली माइग्रेंट लेबर हाउ कुड वी जनरेट employment for migrant labor. Actually, Sierra sir has already answered, but as a candidate participant wants to know, so kindly sir enlighten the matter, sir. Yes, sir.
Let us actually the answer cannot be stated quite simply because I would like to answer it in from an economic point of view, and it is that why laborers why laborers actually migrate. Now, the basic economic logic is that as the country pursues the path of development and economic growth occurs, then factors are allocated to the highest productive sectors, capital and labor. But what happened in India is not that simple. If you just study the process of migration, then you will find in most of the cases, mainly the laborers actually migrated in order to get subsistence living from rural to urban areas, from urban to urban, from district to district, from one state to another state, from one country to another country, just in order to survive. Not it is for the reason that economic growth has occurred or development has occurred, and therefore the best allocation has been going on for which actually capital or labor is moving from lowest productive sectors to the highest ones. So unless and until you create sufficient sources of employment opportunities in the different regions, you cannot stop the migration. That migration will continue so long as you actually your economic growth, your policies of development are not percolated down to the grassroots level, to the regional level. Thank you. Can you hear me, Professor Jadov?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Uh, uh,
Sir.
uh.
One question.
I have
One
completed the
question to
answer.
you.
Have you got it?
Yeah. I got it. But one more question from
Mm,
the
mm,
participant: that what will be the
mm.
major strategies should be taken by the government to enhance GDP?
It's a big question. Actually, in order to raise GDP, I think the so far as we are concerned, government has depended mainly upon the growth of the service sector. If we follow national income accounting or sectoral allocation of India's national income, we will find the service sector has been growing in importance. But what has to be done in a country with vast labor force remaining out of the employment, what has to be geared up, that is the manufacturing sector. Unless you gear up unless you pursue policies for developing your manufacturing sectors. You cannot absorb the huge manpower, and you cannot solely depend upon increasing GDP on the basis of the growth of the service sectors alone. This will ultimately hinder the process of growth of GDP. So government must have to pursue the policies for developing its manufacturing base. And only in that way it can generate or it can augment the growth of gross domestic product. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So one more question, sir. Last question it is. I think after that it is not possible for us to take another more question. To BBG, sir. Uh, Amit Chakrabarti is asking that is social distancing equalize the social status of poor and rich to some extent? Yeah, you can see on your.
Is social distancing equalizes social status of poor and rich to some extent? I do not think it will be so. I do not think. Social distancing is actually imposing certain constraints on our institutional value systems to which we are much perturbed. And actually, we are following this social distancing just in order to fight this pandemic. This is a precautionary measures. And actually, in order to maintain the poor or in order to bring the poor to the same status of the rich or upright ones, it is necessary that equality of opportunities and social measures for protections and inclusions must be pursued by the government. Otherwise, you will not be able to create opportunities for these people to to come in line with or to prosper according to the social mobility ladder.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you very much. Last question to Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar. I think again problem has arisen. Uh, Sorry, again problem is arised. Yes, sir. So, serious, sir.
Okay. The question?
Yeah, one more question from Dr. Sudipto Ghosh from PK College, Kontai. He want to know what will be the recommendation for MSME.
Okay. Regarding your question, I like to highlight once again, already I have covered that MSMEs are the worst victim of this corona pandemic because they are lagging behind. They are lacking cash resources. They are having mostly unorganized sector because most of the workers and people of our country that are engaged with them are unorganized. So they are facing much of problem to run and continue their businesses. Their capital problem is there, infrastructural deficit is there. All these are very much problematic. But as I prescribe or have given some recommendation that whatever presently available as a survival measure, once again I am telling, whatever available, local resources, local manpower, local market, retail sale, daily sale, reduced scale operation, whatever feasible, they should adopt as a temporary survival measure to overcome the impasse to growth and survival. This is my advice to MSMEs. And this way, they can go ahead and actually take part in the overall socio-economic development of big country of India. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Last question. Uh, One teacher from Bihar wants to ask that, sir, to BB Ghosh, sir. So actually in Bihar, most of the people are generally employed in other state. and due to corona pandemic they have returned back to their home in villages. So problem may arise as because huge number of people have come back to their home in interior village. So how could they get job in interior villages?
Right now, it is not possible for prescribe any solution, and until and unless the situation is overcome and we are able to bring normalcy, then only government can follow some prescriptions, government can pursue some policies, because it is a huge problem, and this problem has been created not only due to the pandemic nowadays, but it is I think lacking on the part of the government for pursuing a general policy by which these problems can be solved. Right now the situation has become so grave that it will not be fruitful to prescribe what role should be played by the government, but government must have to find out the ways for absorbing these laborers who have returned from other state to their home state. Otherwise it will create a great social unrest. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. And what is your opinion about the financial package that has been provided by Government of India?
To which
Sir,
asking me.
Ghosh, sir. Yes, sir. Ghosh, sir. One more
Uh-huh.
thing, sir. Last question to you. What is your opinion about the financial package that has been provided by?
I have not gone through all the reports of financial packages announced by the government and for the sectors for which the packages have been announced, but
Yes. And
so it is not
and
possible right now
at
to
at
say
the
anything
same
about
time,
it.
I want to add one more thing. What kind of policy you would like to suggest to the government to revive the economy from the economics point of view? Ghosh, sir.
From the economist point of view, the first of all, the government has to facilitate the global supply chain. That means the supply of, or the government must facilitate the distribution of essential items, so there would be no supply bottlenecks. So one thing is that. Another one is that has been a falling consumer demand in the economy, so government must also be alert to raise the effective demand in the economy, which is mainly geared by the rising consumption level. So, on these two strands going equally, that means raising consumption standards as well as facilitating the supply chain. Only these two ways, I think that government can be able to facilitate or to solve the current problem.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for answering all the questions. Uh, Last question I want to ask to Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar, that how tourism, travel, and aviation sector could revive and shopping mall could start their business, as at present we have to maintain a social distancing due to the corona pandemic. So please.
Okay, the question is clear. As far as the social distancing is concerned, it is rightly to be observed that in case of aviation industry, railways, other transport industry, shopping malls, etc., whenever people will be enjoying that, there will be much of problem to maintain social distancing. It is quite natural. We cannot have much of space inside a aeroplane seat aside. So in such a situation, what is needed, that proper precautionary measures should be taken into account. And as you follow the news, that already the aviation industry have started their work in some parts of our country, whereby they have recommended that only those people don't having any problem like corona, they will be able to enter into the flight and they can continue their journey. But if it is that if you come to the airport and you see that you are in problem, that your plane is not going because of some problem that some states have given restriction not to come down the plane in that area. So in that situation, it is a very dangerous position. Actually, there must be proper alignment between the state governments and central and the authorities who are running these organizations, and they should come to a conclusion that from a particular date, despite the problem, for the cause of society, for the mobility of the people from one place to another, we have no other alternative but to start these transportation industry to work further, to other activities to work further, because COVID-19 is such a dangerous disease. It is expected, the scientists have given their ideology that it may continue to carry on for infection purpose for the coming 2 years. So is it feasible for the 2 years we will be lagging behind, we will not move from one place to another? That is not. We have to have our ideology how we can live and go anywhere with the infection by corona. We have to have it as a habit, that is we shall continue our activities within this scenario so that we can move further. This is I think. Okay.
One last question, sir, to CRS, sir, as you are expert of tax. Sir, one teacher from PK College of Kontai, Tamal Bosu, wants to know, is voluntary reduction in GST rate for at least 1 year maybe good step for revival or not?
It may be a good step for revival, but you see what is the government exchequer. If your GST collection is kept suspended, major of the industry will be benefited. But what will be the position of the government? Crores of rupees, लाखों crores of rupees बोलते हैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर, तो कैसे मिलेगा? हमको तो कलेक्शन करना ही चाहिए ना. हम सब छोड़ दिया जाए, कुछ नहीं लेगा तो देगा कैसे? So we cannot give such prescription that the GST should be totally disrupted. No. For the socio-economic growth, revenue realization is the most important dimension of an economy. It may be reduced to some extent for the poorer section of the industry, but it should not be totally withdrawn. Is not a solution. It will be dangerous. Our economy will be totally devastated. Government assistance in the coming days will be zero, will be dried up. It is not effective. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. A very interactive session. And one more thing I want to add to Tamal Bosu, sir. I want to say that if GST rate will reduce, then from where we will get our salary, sir? Ah, that is also a matter of concern. And last question, one more question to me, Amarnath Kushwaha. How COVID-19 will affect startup and how it can be viewed as opportunity. Sir, I want to tell you one thing, that in this situation, the running business are not doing anything. They have stopped their production, their everything. So we can use this as an opportunity, but I don't think so that anyone will take this time there to start any new startup. But I will not demotivate anyone. If you think that it is a good time to start any business, then I think it is very good, बहुत अच्छा है. पर मुझे नहीं लगता कि इस समय में ऐसे पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन में कोई कोशिश करेगा कि नया बिजनेस शुरू करेगा, है कि जो बिजनेस एकदम रनिंग उफान पे थी, पीक पे थी, वही नहीं चल रहा है भाई, तो अभी क्या करेंगे? जो भी हो, चलिए हम सबको वी कैन यूज एज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. So thank you very much, all of you. Now I'm going to conclude. So I, Sunil Kumar Yadav, Assistant Professor and Head Department of Commerce, on behalf of Department of Commerce and IGRA SSB College, would like to extend my thanks to our resource person for sharing their time and views with us. Sir, please accept our sincere appreciation for coming with such an useful and profitable ideas. I hope our I want after Chittaranjan Sarkar, uh, problems arising. Okay. Once again, I want to thank from core of my heart all the responsibles, Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar and Dr. Balwant Ghosh. Sir, without your support, this program was not possible. Uh, again, I think problem is arising. Hello, hello,
Hello.
everything is okay?
Hello, আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি। হ্যালো,
No.
ক্যান ইউ হিয়ার মি প্রফেসর যাদব?
Yeah, I think, sir, it's working.
I can hear you, Professor
It's
Jadab.
working. Huh? Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay. So, yeah. So everyone is there. Uh, okay. Administration. So, on behalf of Department of Commerce, Agra SSB College, I would like to extend my thanks to our resource person for sharing time and view with us. Sir, please accept my thanks and welcome to হ্যাঁ জয়েন করুন আপনি। Okay, welcome back once again. Due to internet failure, the total system disrupted. So, on behalf of Department of Commerce University College, I would like to extend my thanks to our resource person for sharing their name and view with us. So, sir, please accept our sincere appreciation for coming with such an useful, profitable ideas. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, Principal Agra SSB College, for his continuous encouragement and support in organizing this kind of events. I would like to thank the entire member of Department of Commerce, BVOC of our college, and special thanks goes to Professor Saurabh Bose, Professor Sisir Mati, Professor Sopati, Professor Ajit Sahu, Ravindranath Jana, Professor uh, Paul Kumar, and entire team of Department of Commerce. I would like to thank all the participants for attending the webinar. We hope that you found this webinar informative and worthwhile. Our primary goal was to increase our understanding about impact of COVID on business, trade, commerce in India as well as throughout the world. And its suitable measure for its revitalization. My sincere thanks goes to Devashish Su for his help and support. Without your support, sir, I cannot arrange this webinar. And special thanks goes to Dr. Chittaranjan Sarkar for always being available for me whenever I call you. Sir, thank you very much. A special thanks goes to Otonu Manna, Lecturer, Department of Computer Science, for his support. I would like to thank Rupa, Rupesh, Mukesh, Mummy, Papa, and all my family members for their support, cooperation, for organizing this event. Especially Rupesh always supported me, and I would like to thank all the teachers of Department of Commerce, Bardhaman University, for their love, support, and also some teacher from our department joined this webinar. Uh, uh, Dr. Som Sankar Sen joined this webinar, and also many other teacher, Dr. Lalit Joshi, and thank you very much, all of you. And I'm concluding the webinar, and we hope you all will support us in next event. We will organize. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Please maintain social distancing, and we have to combat coronavirus. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bonivaran sir. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Chittaranjan Sarkar. So now I'm
Okay, thank you.
concluding. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.